it's Bethany. I'm here at the Kenai Community Library, and we just wanted to talk to you guys and show you how you can tie your own moose hair fly. Now, I don't want you guys to get too concerned. We won't be using any live moose. In fact, you don't even have to hunt a moose to get your moose hair, because moose are shedding hair all the time. And to prove that point, I've got something right here. So what you guys can see here is we've got some moose hair in our tree. See the little moose hairs? And that's pretty common with coniferous trees or trees that have like little pine needles. And that's because when the moose are walking by them, they shed all the time, just like we do, just like our dogs or cats do at home. And sometimes those get combed out of their hair, especially by trees that have needles on them. So if you're in an area where you know there's some moose, or you see a trail where you know moose kind of hang out, check out some of the needle leaf trees around there, and see if maybe some of their hair got stuck in there. You can pull it out, and that's how you can collect some of your hair without having to have any encounters with an actual live moose. Now let's go ahead and try and tie some of these into a really cool fly for fishing. To begin, what we're going to need is we're going to need to make sure we have all of the materials we need. First off, you're going to need probably a clamp. A clamp is going to be really useful just because it's going to hold your tie down to like a table or like a board so that you can work with two hands. That's going to help you immensely. There's a lot of different clamps you can use. There's regular clamps, carpentry clamps, or there's some vise clamps that'll kind of hold it upright for you. Whichever one works for you or whatever you have on hand is fine. They do sell some really nice clamps that are specifically made for tying flies, but you don't have to get that fancy if you don't want to. Another thing you're going to need is you're going to need to make sure you have some fishing line. I'm usually going to go for like a 10 to 12 pound line. You can go for something a little bit heavier. I wouldn't go too much lighter. You want this to be really strong and to really hold your fly on well. So I would stick with getting a 10 to 12 pound line. Another thing you're going to need is you're going to need something to make the fly out of. So whether it be hair, like moose hair, or it could be feathers, it could be thread, it could be fabric, whatever you want to use. And you'll also need a hook. What I have is I just have kind of like a J fly fishing hook with a long shaft. You can do a shorter shaft. Some people prefer a short shaft, but it's a lot easier to show you guys what I'm tying and how to tie it if I'm using a long shaft. And honestly, it's easier to tie too. And last but not least, you're probably going to want some sort of glue or fixative. This is just to fix your fly onto the tip of your eye of the hook. And that's just so that your fly doesn't get jostled loose by a couple rocks and then slide to the end of your hook. You want it to stay near the top. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got my line all set up here, and you can see I have this long little wrapping end, and then I have my tail is actually being held partly by my clamp. So it's kind of out of the way, and you want it to kind of follow along that shaft. Now I need to make sure I have enough room to tie this, so I'm going to want to make sure that it's kind of long, because I can always trim it off later. It's easier to work with a longer piece. Go ahead and grab your materials, and what you're going to do is you want to put those materials on your hook how you want them tied. So if you want them kind of folded over, or if you want kind of little antennas poking out, you can even grab a bigger clump than I have here, but I'm just going to grab this to show you guys. So go ahead and pinch the hook and the material in between your fingers, and nice and tight on that hook, kind of how you want it, and then start wrapping with your free hand. I usually pinch with my non-dominant hand, which for me is my left, and I wrap with my right. But if you guys are left or right-handed, you can do the opposite. And you just want to wrap it really tight. You want to wrap it really good. So you can see I've gone around multiple times here. I'm making sure it's really, really secure. So this is probably good. You can see how well I've wrapped it. And it probably could have had a little bit more line here, but we'll work with it. So now I'm going to get my tail end. So this is the wrapping end is what I have in my finger right now. And now I have my tail end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this knot. I have a diagram at the bottom that kind of helps show this because it's a little hard to see my thread. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my tail around my main line about 5 to 9 times. So I usually do about 7. 7's a magic number for me. It's really easy to remember. So about 7 times. Let's count it off here. That's about perfect. So you can see I have a little loop at the very bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my tail end through that loop. So you see my tail end going through that loop. You want to keep those ends so you know which end is which. So I got my tail end through there, and I'm going to slowly pull these two together. And oh, I think my hook's about to go. Hold on. This happens sometimes. This is not the best thing to clip to. Here we go. Still to try and pull it here. And I'm pulling gently but firmly. So I need it to go all the way down. I'm just gonna have to readjust this here. Yeah, there, it slipped out. Give me a second, guys. Nope, that's not gonna hold. Hold on. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I've got it all the way pulled. I had it pretty well tight, but I want to pull it tight, but I don't want to snap the line. So you want to pull it as tight as you can, but not snap the line. Now, this is called, I believe, a clutch knot. I have it written up here. I'll make sure I put the right name on here. But this is a really good fishing knot. And what I usually do is I tie a square knot after it. You don't have to. It usually holds off just fine without. But I'll do it just to begin. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and cut it. I probably don't have the best scissors for that. But you can see I got that all clipped off. Now if I wanted to, I could clip off some of the other hairs, kind of trim them up how I wanted them to. I could add more if I had wanted to. I kind of left this one a little bit plain just so you can kind of see me tying it a little bit easier. It's hard when I add all the fluff and stuff to it to see some of the knots. I could trim this off here if my stuff is sharp enough. I don't think it is. Probably need regular scissors for that one, but yeah, it's not coming off. That's okay. But the noose hair is nice. It's kind of really stiff, which makes it so that it kind of resembles things like legs or antenna or like a proboscis on an insect, which is really nice. If I wanted to, I could add like a feathery body or even a different type of hair to act as a body. So here's a couple examples of some that I've done that with, and I've added different things, like some feathers or some other hair as well, so that it has kind of different types of hair in it. And these all work pretty good. So depending on what fish you're going for and what you're trying to do, go ahead and try out a lot of different things. But anyway, this is a really simple tutorial on how to make a fly. Anyone can make a fly. So good luck out there, and we can't wait to see you again. Bye everyone.